Hello, Aquarius. This is your reading for the week of the 6th to the 10th. No, to the Sunday, starting the 6th, Monday to Sunday. Okay, so when I first started this, the guides gave me an image, and the first image was of you in a boat, and but it was like a Viking boat. I don't often remember what I've said from a previous reading. But sometimes the guides will drop in something that reminds me of it. And what I'm remembering, which I believe was you in a round boat that was kind of just going with the waves. Like it had no prow, there was no steerable function. This time, you are actually in something that looks like a Viking longboat almost, like it's got that prow. And you're moving through clouds. You're not actually on the water, you're in the air. And there are little wisps of mist that are there, but you're standing proudly on the prow and you're kind of watching it. And you have your hand on the rudder. I know you wouldn't normally if you're at the prow, but it's a psychic image, so there's creative license here. You're basically directing the boat is what they're showing me. And you are directing the boat by virtue of your curiosity and your interest. That is what is guiding the boat. And then I said, what do I do with that? And they showed me this beautiful circus tent. Now the circus tent, I've never actually been to the circus, but this would be like a main tent you would see in a movie. But the colors of the tent, it's huge. And probably similar to how this would show up on film, but deep blue and purple and red. So these colors and gold and just really beautiful and very clean and clear. And those colors are very spiritual colors. So I'm going, okay, there's something to do with where you're going. What I see when I look inside is you are the ringmaster. There's nobody in the tent except you. And you are the ringmaster, and you are deciding what you're going to put into this circus tent. I also see then you writing a book. Okay, so there's a book that opens like this, and you're writing in the book. And this is where you're writing your thoughts about where you're going to place things in this tent. Because the colors are, red is root chakra, it's bringing things into reality. Purple and blue and gold, they're all that quality of blue, and it's all upper chakras, which says to me, for whoever I'm reading this for, part of what seems to be happening is that you are making choices, or you could potentially be making choices if you so wish, to manifest things where you are bringing higher levels of spirituality into the earth plane, where you will be sharing it with people, because it's a circus tent. It's a tent where people come to watch and to listen. I don't know what context this is going to be in, but I feel as though for a group of you Aquarians, this is where things are heading. Now, please remember, they're reminding me, your boat is being directed. These two images are very linked. The boat is not yet arrived to where it's going. You're still navigating, and you're navigating through wisps of mist, so it's not absolutely clear. There's not bright sun. The weather is still kind of iffy, right? But remember, it's floating through the air, and you are managing it by virtue of what your desires are and what your interests are, okay? So this tells me that you're following your inner sense of what is good, what is right, what is going to be good for you, and that is what you're going to put into this tent. That is how you're going to create the content of whatever this tent is. Now, as I was pulling the cards, I was looking at it, and I was saying to my guides, how do these people do this? And what's holding them back potentially? What are some of these wisps that are they're navigating through, and why is the weather still iffy? So what I've got here is that there seems to be some focus still very much on loss of love, and a sense of grieving that perhaps has not been complete, where I feel as though some of you have kind of been stuck in a sense of almost powerlessness because of grieving, because of loss. and that you have not yet quite found the freedom, the liberation. Now, not from when loss or liberation, in astrology, the house of loss is also considered the house of liberation. And the idea of that, of course, is that whenever you lose something, as much as there is loss and grief with that, there is also usually some kind of liberation as well. Whether or not it's liberation from a role, from a financial expectation, time, there's some liberation that is always there. And it might be liberation from a belief because you get to grieve, and grief is an emotion that is very linked to the first loss, which is the loss of separation from the divine, which of course is not really true, but it's the illusion of loss that we are all dealing with in this human form. So that being said, what I'm looking at here is you have genuinely got the power to take this on and be your own hero in this, to be the one who says, how do I want this to be? It's not a matter of I can't. Whatever I choose, it's I will or I won't. It's not I can't. It's I will or I won't. You now get to make those choices. Whatever emotions that you've had that go back to that sense of loss, it can go back for a very, very long way. It can be loss at the origin of your life. It can be karmic. It can be in your early family life. But what I'm getting is that can bring on, I'm going to read the card of hopelessness because I think this is really powerful. Hopelessness is usually linked to the thought that things will never change, us, others, circumstances. It's a heavy energy and has no momentum because it presupposes that there's nothing that can change the situation or state. It's usually accompanied with a sense of powerlessness. Yeah, that's where that count comes in. Usually accompanied with a sense of powerlessness. Often, excuse me, often it's based on old disappointments, but is triggered by current events that resonate with something similar from the past. So if we've had a loss early on, when we really have been powerless within the nature of our circumstance due to our age or our role or whatever, it can start kind of a cycle of the expectation of loss, that it will never work, that it's never going to happen. Okay, a short story, but I think it is perfect. We used to live up north when we were kids in the mining country of Quebec. And Sundays, my dad would put us in a car, and some days we would drive and drive and drive, and we would get to this beautiful inn somewhere way out, and we'd pull up. We didn't find out until much later when I spoke about it with my sister that we both had this dream every single time that they had packed our bags secretly and they were in the trunk and we were actually going to spend the night in this beautiful inn. It never happened. And we've often laughingly joked about the fact that we have kind of played that out in some ways in our adult life, hanging on with the expectation that, and then that hopelessness, that it not working, and then that sense of, well, of course it's not going to. And of course there were many other things included in that energy, such as my mother being sick and many different situations that were quite difficult from a family perspective that kind of led us to expect disappointment. But it can be something quite simple that sets us up for the expectation of things not being better or not being able to change. So you're being asked to look out for that. Reflect on whether or not there is something from your childhood, and whether or not you can actually move into that energy and breathe it out of your system. And I say breathe it out of your system because sometimes it really is that simple. And again, if there's great trauma involved, you may need help in doing that. And if there are many repeated situations where that energy built, creating what in energy is called like a coex matrix of this thought form, you might need some assistance in getting rid of that. So assistance, psychological, psychotherapeutic stuff, EMDR, somato-emotional work, there's lots and lots and lots. There are some references on my website for that if you want to look at it, but you don't need my website to do it. You can Google it. Basically, what I'm saying is, if there's any energy holding you back, now can be a really, really valuable time to do it, because you have the card here saying You have support. You have grace. You have the grace of the divine with you. You have the power to choose. And you have the power to choose gradually. You don't have to go barreling through the mist and land with a crash in the tent. You can choose gradually. Choose according to what feels good and what feels right. And when you find some of that old energy getting in the way, going, oh no, of course that couldn't happen, challenge it. Don't just accept it. And see if there's something that you can do on your own to let go of it. And if you can't, and you want to shift this perspective so that you can move forward and create something in your life, get some help for it. But it seems to me like there is a likelihood that you might need a little bit of discipline to come through some of that. But what I'd like you to see is that this discipline, it's not about, we think of discipline as thou shalt not, you must, write on the board 20 times. But no, this is the kind of discipline that is loving support for you. What can you do for yourself that is going to allow you to make the choices that are going to help you navigate your life according to the things that make you feel good and lovely, and fulfill something that is going to really give your spirit a chance to shine. Because the colors in that beautiful circus tent are clear and clean and vibrant, and they're all higher energy. So if that kind of belief system is relevant to you, and if those concepts are important to you, what I'm being shown here is you have the ability to do that. You've got the center of love in you that can overcome the grief and the sense of loss and the sense of hopelessness. You might have to challenge some old patterns of behavior and thought, but you've got the ability to do it. You've got the hero card. You've got the be your own hero card. So you can change the can't to a won't or a will. Okay? That's it for you, Aquarians. I wish you all the best. It's looking really nice. And this says to me like you've really got the opportunity to work with yourself on this if it's your desire to. Okay? So that's it for now. Take care. If you care to like, share, subscribe, then that's all really great. I'll be back next week. Whether you do or whether you don't, you're welcome to join me. Take care.